Cool. Well, we're 2 minutes in. Shanna, what do you think? Do you want to get started?
Yeah, I'd be happy to introduce you. First, would love to say thank you to Madeleine Eames Keogh. She is a 2013 graduate of Northern Essex Community College. She has been a sign language interpreter, a project manager, an instructional designer, and now she is sharing her wisdom as a career coach and was happily reaching out to us with this wonderful topic of passion is overrated and discover what drives you. So we opened this opportunity up to both alumni and students to attend, and we are glad that you took an hour of your afternoon to join us for this great conversation, and absolutely thank Madeleine for sharing her wisdom with all of us. And with that, Madeleine, please take the floor. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Shanna. Let me just pull up my slides. Give me 1 second. All right, make sure I can see the chat. Are you all able to see those slides? Just give me a thumbs up. Yeah, cool. All right, let's get started. Well, welcome everyone. As Shanna said, I am Madeleine Eames Keogh. I am so excited to be with you here today to talk about why passion is overrated and to give you a new perspective on finding a career that fits you. I want to thank NECC and in particular Shanna and Katie and Sarah for inviting me to host this webinar today. Let's start with our agenda. So we will kick off with an introduction that will include what you will walk away with today, a brief background on me and why I'm here, and then we'll do some fun icebreaker activities, including a Zoom poll and a Slido word cloud activity to kick off our discussion. Then we will dive into the concept of passion, why it is overrated, and how to reframe our thinking. And this will include a couple of independent activities. We will then pivot into pivoting and talk about how it is easier than you might think. And this will also include one fun activity. And finally, we will wrap up with a summary, some recommended resources, and we'll leave some time, hopefully, at the end for Q&A, but we'll also pause for questions throughout. I'd like to note before we start that this is going to be an interactive webinar. So not only will you be doing exercises on your own, but I'd also love for you to chime in and participate with some discussion either in the chat, or if you are comfortable, you're welcome to unmute yourself as well. And as you'll see in a minute, my background is in adult education, and research has shown that you will get more out of this webinar if you fully participate. So basically, you get out what you put in. So I highly recommend that you do the independent activities that we have planned for today so that you can walk away from the session with more clarity than when you came in. And don't worry, this webinar is being recorded, so you are welcome to revisit anything we discussed today at a later time. All right, let's enjoy this hour together and learn from each other. All right, I will kick us off with some info and an introduction. So these are our goals for today. This is a high-level summary of what you will walk away with after this webinar. A foundational understanding of what drives you, a better idea of what skills you want to leverage, a jumping off point for career exploration, and hopefully a sense of relief that you are doing just fine. The reason I'm here today is that I am an NECC alum myself. As Shanna mentioned, I completed a 2-year sign language certificate program at NECC and I graduated in 2013. I had a great time here. I currently work in learning and development and as a career coach. I specialize working with new grads, young professionals, and career pivoters. I have pivoted my own career 3 times. We can talk about that a little bit more later. And I live on the southern coast of Maine. My husband and I just bought a house a few months ago, and we joke that half the reason we bought the house was for our dog. So you could say I'm a dog enthusiast. All right, that's a little about me. Now let's do a quick Zoom poll. Shanna, do you mind launching the poll? So you should see a poll on your screen where you can answer some questions. So the question is, when it comes to your professional life, have you found your passion? And you will see some cheeky answer options for you to choose from here. I am seeing the results coming in. Let's give everybody a second to answer. Interesting, we're kind of split between two answer options. All right, I'm going to end the poll and share the results if you'd like to see. You should all be able to see the results now. Can you see them? Does that work? Maybe Shanna, you have to share them. I don't know if it's letting me. Yeah, so we got 29% of you saying yes, you have found your passion in your professional life. You are very lucky. And then the rest of us saying, I have no idea, help. And that is just fine. That is why we are here today. And I'm hopefully going to help you. Cool. Thank you all for doing that. I'm going to close that poll for you. And we're going to do, let me just make sure poll is gone. You should be able to exit out of it if my exiting out didn't do it for you. Let's move on to a fun word cloud activity. So for those of you who don't know what a word cloud is, it is a visual cluster of our collective thoughts as a group. So I'm going to ask you to submit your answers to the question on the screen using this really cool concept called Slido. And your words will appear on my screen in real time. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can either go to slido.com, which you see on the left of the screen here. You can do that on your phone, or you can do that in a new tab on your browser somewhere. And it will ask you to enter the code that you see on screen, the 3669358, and then it will bring you to my question. Alternatively, you can also just use the QR code on your phone and it'll bring you straight to, oh good, we're getting some answers. Bring you straight to the question. And then there'll be a little text box under my question and you will be able to type whatever you'd like. You can type any word, a phrase. I welcome emojis. They can be very fun. Anything that comes to mind when you think of the word passion. So don't limit yourself to your professional life. Write down anything that comes to mind, but of course, let's keep this PG. It is an interesting word, passion. But so for example, maybe you personally are passionate about tennis. Go ahead and write tennis. If you think passion makes you think of the word romance, you can write the word romance, or you can send a little heart emoji, like whatever suits your fancy. And also feel free to submit as many answers as you'd like. And as you see, they are appearing on the screen, which is pretty cool. All right, we've got joy and excitement are big ones. Let's see, teaching and fulfillment, drive and accomplishment, music, nice, playing, inspiration, biking, very cool. What else are we passionate about? Feel free to keep typing. I'd love to see an emoji or two. It's okay if it's not super clear to us, as long as it's clear to you. Energy. Nice. What else we got? Life. Yep. Very cool. Yay, emojis. Thank you. Got a cute little, kind of like a little nerdy emoji. And then also like somebody shrugging, not totally sure. Not totally sure what comes to mind, maybe. Fireworks. Ooh, I like that. That's a good way to represent passion for sure. What else? What else? These are great answers. Ooh, okay, here we go. Cooking. Nice. Flow. Very interesting. Definitely can agree with that. The trophy, maybe representing like being really good at something that you're passionate about. Playing with my kids, I love it. Yes, that's definitely passion. Travel, motorcycles, my dad would agree. Nice, very, very cool. Oh, graduating, emojis, friends, yes, 100%. These are great, great answers. I'm loving this word cloud that we're creating. Look at this. Learning, yep, we got that one. Cool. Awesome. Grades. Does anybody want to type in the chat or unmute themselves as far as why they submitted what they did, or want to expand a little bit on what they think of when they think of the word passion. Feel free to share with the group why you shared what you did. Possibilities is a good one. Consistency. Nice.
There.
Yeah, go ahead.
To me, passion means happiness to me. Like it brings out my joy.
I love that. That's a really great summary. It's kind of like if you feel joy, it's probably related to some sort of passion. Nice. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Fresh air. I see Dale wrote in the chat. Yes, right? 100%. Cool. I love this. Well, thank you all so much for participating in this fun little word cloud activity. I hope you enjoyed that. I do. I kind of want to print this out. It's such a great word cloud we all created. I would like to point out how many of your answers here are unrelated to your work life. Not sure if any of you noticed that, but it does make you wonder if work is in fact where you should even be trying to find your passion. So before we dive into the concept of passion and why I believe it's overrated, I can pause here to see if you have any questions so far. So thank you for participating in those 2 icebreaker activities. Oh, I did get a question. Have you found your passion in your work life? From Lana, asking if I have. You know what? I'm not sure. I will cover that a little bit more later as to my career journey and how I got to where I am and whether or not I think what I'm doing is a passion or not. So great question. I will answer that in just a minute. Okay, so we're going to now dive into our main topic for the day. What I am here to tell you is this. When it comes to your professional life, passion is overrated. If you have found a career that you are truly passionate about, it is your one true calling, you are perfectly content with your professional life, then that is amazing. Congratulations. I'm not sure why you're attending this webinar though. Just kidding, you are welcome to stay. But for most of us, that is not the case, and that is okay. So what I'm here to say is do not feel bad if you are struggling to figure out your passion. That's because in American culture, we romanticize this concept of having a career that we feel passionate about, where we work 80-hour weeks and we don't take any vacation time and we spend every waking moment thinking about our jobs, and we make people feel bad if they don't feel this way about their work, or worse, if they don't feel passionate about anything in particular. However, passion is basically obsession, and it can lead to becoming a less well-rounded person with a less well-balanced life. Let me repeat that again. Passion is basically obsession, and it can lead to becoming a less well-rounded person with a less well-balanced life. Passion is not a requirement for a fulfilling career or even a fulfilling life. One of the first definitions that pops up when you Google the word passion is a strong and barely controllable emotion. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like the most stable starting point for building a successful career. A lot of satisfaction and enjoyment and purpose can be gained from not obsessively focusing on one thing and instead participating in varied activities, trying new things, having a lot of diverse interests, and building a career that fits your lifestyle. I see that Anne agrees, yes. I want to share this quote that I love from the book Designing Your Life. Research shows that for most people, passion comes after they try something, discover they like it, and develop mastery, not before. To put it more succinctly, passion is the result of a good life design, not the cause. So passion does not have to be your compass when building a career. This is not to say that you will have a passionate-less career. Like the quote says, the passion may come later. But if it doesn't, that is also okay, because it is not the end-all be-all. It is not our goal. So you might be wondering, if I am not focused on finding my passion, then what should I be doing? You need to reframe your thinking when building your career. And you do that by discovering what drives you. So this means when it comes to your work, what are your priorities in life? What fits into your lifestyle? What do you enjoy doing? What are you good at doing? What motivates you? What do you even care about? And your answers to these questions are the building blocks that you will use to craft your ideal career. So do not focus on what makes you feel obsessive. Focus on what makes you feel whole. I'm going to repeat that one again too. Do not focus on what makes you feel obsessive. Focus on what makes you feel whole. We achieve this by breaking down all the elements of a job, identifying what matters to you most, and then crafting from the ground up a fitting and fulfilling career. So it's really more of a systems approach to career design, or you could also think of it as like a holistic approach. It is about being strategic and thoughtful about what does and does not work for you, and really taking the time to be introspective. So our goal here is to discover what will fill your cup, what will make you feel content, or what will give your life meaning. And also, there is not just one answer to this question about what fills your cup, but likely multiple life scenarios where you will feel fulfilled. And we're going to start to uncover the common threads among these alternative lives that you could live to make sure you are building a career that fits your needs. And this is what is so freeing about letting go of your pursuit for passion. There is not just one solution to your career. I'm going to pause here before we move on to see what questions do you have. I realize I just threw a lot at you about passion and drive. Feel free to unmute or type in the chat any questions.
Hi, good afternoon. I just have a question too. So I'm not a spring chicken. I probably graduated from NECC before you were born, but as far as, I'm exploring what I'm going to do now in my career. I've been a manager for over 30 years, and it's very difficult to determine that. And it's also hard to frame that when I'm not a spring chicken. So what about the older generations? Do you think this will work or?
Great question. Absolutely. I think it'll be really interesting when you go through our activities today, which we're going to start in just a minute, to see how it feels for you. I'd love to get your feedback too. But I don't think age or experience matters at all when it comes to this. I think you can figure out your systems approach to career design, basically identifying what drives you at any point in life. It is not too late. And I think it's a really, really great way to pivot into what's next for you. Maybe you're kind of sounds like you're starting a new chapter. It's a really great opportunity to do some self-reflection. And we're going to do these activities today. I'd love to hear what you think. But thank you. Great question, Anne. I see from Elizabeth, finding it difficult to ever work with people in person after working remote for so long. Yes, I can relate to that too. 100%. That's been my life the past 4 years. Can't really imagine going back. But you know what? You know that about yourself. Awesome. Turns out remote work drives you. Add that to the list. Great. Thank you all so much. I'm going to move on so we can start our activities in just a minute. Okay, so the list on the screen includes 14 high-level categories related to our professional lives. Don't worry about writing all these down. They will be shared with you in just 1 minute. So all of these categories matter to you, but some matter more than others. And it's important to note that it is completely normal for your rankings of these categories or how you prioritize them to change over time based on where you are in life, like Anne is reflecting on right now. So when you figure out which of these categories are your top priorities, you can then start narrowing down your search for a career based on what drives you. So in a career coaching environment, I would normally work with my client much more in depth to help them uncover what makes them feel fulfilled in life. But we're going to do a condensed version that is more suitable for a webinar today. So we're going to do 3 independent activities that are also introspective, hopefully. Before we dive into our first activity, I want to remind you to let go of your current idea of what work you should be doing. So approach these activities with a clean slate. Don't think about your current job or even what job you might be dreaming about right now. Let it all go. And remember, you don't have to share your answers to these activities with anyone. They are yours to keep. So be super honest with yourself. Okay, so all 3 of these activities can be found in this document I am putting in the chat right now. It is a Google Doc. So please click on that and open it. And then I'm going to ask you all to make a copy of it, because then you will be able to have your own version and you'll be able to edit it. So you can make a copy a couple different ways. You could go to File, Make a Copy, and that will create a new Google document for yourself where you can rename it and edit it as you please. You're also welcome to go to File, Download Microsoft Word, if you have Microsoft Word on your laptop, and then you can open that in your downloads and edit it in Word. If you're on an iPad or a phone, it's probably going to look a little bit different. You might have to go to those 3 dots and select Share and Export. But hopefully you all can figure out how to make a copy. If you're having any trouble, please put it in the chat and we'll have Shanna or Katie or Sarah help you out. The one thing that I'm going to also ask while we're getting prepared here is that please don't read ahead and start working on other activities before we get to them. You will get a lot more out of this training if you stay in the present moment. And after this webinar is over, this document is yours to keep, so don't feel rushed to complete everything today. Okay, so we should be about ready to start our first activity. Hopefully everyone has made a copy of the document. So let's take a few minutes to do our first activity where we are going to rank those 14 categories that I just shared on the last slide from 1, most important, to 14, least important for your future career. Don't think too hard about this one. Just go with your gut. Remember, this is just a draft. You can always go back and work on these activities later and change your answers. But let's take about 3 minutes to work on this individually. And I'm going to play some background music while we do. Just let me know if you have any questions. All right, welcome back. I would love to hear from you all in a minute or two. What did you learn from this exercise? Was there anything that surprised you? You can feel free to type in the chat or unmute yourself. Love to hear if you had any revelations during this, or perhaps anything you've identified that is missing from the list of 14 that is also important to you. Anyone want to share?
I was surprised with the ranking that I had. I would have thought that money would be number 1. It wasn't. So I think that was a great exercise. Thank you.
Good, I'm glad. Yeah, I was surprised by my answers too when I did it.
And I think you're right. It's evolving. It will evolve over time. Like this is not an official
Yes,
ranking.
right. Absolutely. Like if you're at the point in life where you're like raising young children, right? Your priorities are super different than if you're nearing retirement or if you're fresh out of school and have little family responsibilities. You're going to have different priorities throughout your life.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, Anne.
Madeline Lewis shared his, I don't know if it's Lewis or Luis, but shared a,
Oh, cool. In the chat?
in the chat. And I noticed a similarity in that I didn't, fame was 14 for me and seems to be 13 for Lewis. So it surprised me. I'm like, that's so down on, was the first thing I put as my last.
Yeah, sometimes you know right away, you're like, yep, that's 14. I know for a fact I don't care about that. That's really helpful to know. Fame's an interesting one because some people, it is a goal in their professional career, so it is worth keeping it in mind. Yeah, and Pilar said the same thing when I was younger. It has changed as far as priorities now. Love it. Thank you all. I hope this was a helpful exercise, and I think it is a good first step to developing a career based on what drives you. So after this webinar, I do recommend that you reflect a little bit more deeply on those top 5 to 7 categories and why you rank them in your top 5 to 7, why they're so important to you, as well as maybe what type of work could satisfy these particular needs that you have. So I'm going to move on to our second activity now. Let's reflect on a past job or a past project or even a responsibility that you really enjoyed. So basically the last time you felt really content and proud of the work that you were producing. This doesn't necessarily have to be a professional job. It can be a school project, or it could be a responsibility you have at home, like caring for children or cooking for your family, anything that you had as a responsibility that you felt very content with. And then let's answer the 3 questions on your activity sheet. So the first one is, which of the above categories from our first activity did you get to experience during this particular job or project or responsibility? And this will help you start connecting the dots between what drives you. And then the second question is, what skills did you get to demonstrate? So list any and all skills that come to mind. There are no wrong answers. These do not have to be related to our first activity. They can be literally anything, like asking good questions or being an organized person or making good decisions, anything you like. And then the last question is, what else made this job or project or responsibility enjoyable for you? So let's take about 4 minutes to do this one, and I will play some music again. Let me know if you have any questions. All right. Thank you for doing that second activity. I'm going to ask you again, as you can see a pattern here, what did you learn from this activity or what surprised you? Would anyone like to share in the chat what came up for them? Was it really hard to think of anything you enjoyed? Or did it just flow right out of you? Were you surprised by your skills? Feel free to chime in anytime.
This is Anne again. I'm sorry. I'd rather talk about it than chat. So at first it was difficult to do the exercise, and then it, to your point, it just flowed out once I got rolling.
Cool. I love that. It sounds like you did identify a good job or project then to reflect on because it started
Correct.
to out of you. Good, good. Love to hear that. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
No, thank you for the activity.
Good. I'm glad it was helpful. Yeah. Let's see. Do we have anything in the chat as well? I learned that my physical environment is very important to me and that freedom and autonomy of what I'm doing brings me the most joy. Awesome, Elizabeth. That's great. That's very insightful, very introspective. Really good to know about yourself. Thank you for sharing that. Also going to see if anybody has any questions, and then we will move on to our next topic in the interest of time. But any questions, feel free to raise your hand or unmute or type in the chat. Let's see. We heard from Lana. This was kind of hard for me. It jumped around for me. Hang on. Kind of hard for me. I have only been graduated from high school for a year. I've only really done retail jobs and some internships, so I don't think I found anything I've enjoyed yet. Yeah, that also can be really good to know, right? If this activity is hard and you actually couldn't think of anything, that's good information. It means what you've been doing so far, it's not really working. Also, an idea after this webinar, you could do the reverse activity where you could reflect on a job you really disliked. Why did you dislike it? What skills did it involve, etc. That might be helpful to you too. And thank you to Louis or Louis for sharing your feedback there as well. Very, very cool. I love to see it. Okay, thank you, everybody. We're going to move on, but I do hope this exercise was a good way of starting to connect the dots between what drives you and what you are good at. So we've learned a little bit about what job aspects and professional skills are important to us. Once you understand what drives you, you can then start to work on pivoting into a more suitable career for yourself, if that is the right path for you. So many of you are probably here today because you haven't found a career that fits you yet. You might be in a job that you currently hate, or maybe you're even in a job that you like, but it doesn't fill your cup. You just don't feel excited about it, or maybe it makes you feel restless. Or maybe you're between jobs right now, or maybe you're just starting out in your career and you're feeling a little bit lost or a little bit stuck. The good news is that you already have so many skills, experience, and knowledge that you can draw on that will help you pivot into the right role. And I promise that this is true even if you've only ever been a student. It is still true. And I will note that I just hosted another webinar last week with my partner Codecademy, a cool coding company, about how to pivot a career. So I broke down the process into manageable and actionable steps in that webinar. If you are interested in viewing that webinar after this one, I'm going to put the link in the chat now. You're welcome to open that and check it out. But for now, we're just going to do a high-level summary of pivoting. So let me tell you about my own pivoting story to set the stage. After earning my bachelor's degree in psychology, which I really enjoyed studying, I had a great job at the American Psychological Association in Washington, D.C. So naturally, I did what any sane person would do. I quit, I moved home, and I went back to school to study sign language interpreting, and that was at NECC. So I was in this field for about 7 years. And after graduating from my interpreting program, I worked as a project manager in a local university sign language department. And I also did freelance interpreting jobs on the side. I also earned my MBA during my time at the university. But over the years, I realized that I was interested in the language, but not much else related to this particular profession. It was the wrong fit for me because I only focused on my interest in the subject matter and not all the aspects that made up this particular career. So at that time, I realized that other than interpreting, the only other major skill on my resume was project management from my time at the university. So after I left that job, I became, surprise, surprise, a project manager, basically by default. Also not a smart way to make a career decision. But as a super organized and type A person, I thought this was a great fit for me, and I was good at it. But again, over time, I realized that...
All right, and we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a...
I don't know what that was. Joey, I just muted Joey. Joey seems to be live streaming something over there. Okay, so again, over time, I realized that while I like the organizational aspects of the project management job, it didn't allow for much freedom or creativity, which I came to learn are things that are important to me. So what I did at that time is I reflected on my time working at the university, and I realized that what I enjoyed most about that job was the educational content we were building. I loved working with adult learners and helping them improve their skills. I found this very satisfying. It filled my cup. And this led to a much more strategic career move. into instructional design, or the broader field of learning and development. So for those of you who don't know, instructional designers create educational content like training and online courses, resources, mentorship programs, etc. And learning and development is basically the educational side of the business world. So this was the first time that I thoughtfully planned my pivot from one career to the next, and it worked. So how did I do it? In my current project management role at a real estate company, I asked for any opportunities to develop internal team training. I then actually got laid off when COVID hit, but that was okay because I knew where I wanted to pivot to next. I then got a job as a project manager at an educational company, one step closer. And again, I asked for opportunities to build and run internal team training for fellow project managers. I also spent time on the side earning instructional design certifications, networking with others in learning and development, and even volunteering as a learning and development manager to beef up my resume. Finally, with all that effort, I landed my first job as an instructional designer for the federal government. And I did know that the bureaucratic environment would probably not be a great fit for me long term, but I took this job as an opportunity to gain instructional design experience before landing the learning and development job that I am in today. And then my current job, along with my many years and experience as a mentor, exposed me to the world of coaching. And it was the first time I felt like I finally found something that truly combined everything I was interested and good at. So that included psychology, helping other people, adult education, business, being super organized, creativity, etc. And I knew that my varied background, plus my personal experience pivoting careers, would be valuable to others at the beginning of their career journey. Now, to answer the question we had earlier on, do I believe I have found my passion? I would say no. I think I have found a way to combine my many interests and talents and priorities in life and my preferred lifestyle into an enjoyable career. So I have found a job that drives me. Do I think I'll be a career coach forever? I don't know. And that's okay. I have the skills and the confidence to pivot again if and when that time comes. So I want to look back on my career late in life and feel like not only did I do my part to make the world a better place, but also I got to have a bunch of incredible and varied experiences. I got to live many lives. So we're going to move on to our final activity now related to pivoting. But before we do that, what questions do you have on pivoting, on my story, and what we've discussed so far?
I love how you said many lives. And I like what you said earlier of the new chapter, whether you're starting your career or, at the end, you're absolutely correct. New chapter, it's actually refreshing that you framed it in that manner, because it actually gives me enthusiasm as I'm starting a new chapter. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Anne. That's sweet of you to say. Yes, that's the idea, right? This is exciting. This is positive. This is motivating. These are all positive things in our lives.
And I love how you said many lives, because I've definitely surpassed the 9 lives with my career. So thank you.
Yeah, what's one more, right? I mean, that's the point of life. Let's experience things. Let's try things. Let's learn things. I personally feel like that's the point of life.
Those
Okay.
who try get by, those who don't won't. So definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks, Anne. All right, without further ado, let's move on to our third activity. So as I mentioned before, in a career coaching environment, I would of course work with my client much more in depth than this to help them pivot from their current career to an ideal career. But we're going to do a condensed version of this experience that's suitable for a webinar. So for activity number 3, let's start assessing your pivoting possibilities. I recommend that maybe you pull up your resume, or if you have it, a LinkedIn profile to help trigger your brainstorming here, but not required, because it can help you reflect on your current skills and your current experience. But let's take a few minutes to list out what skills or experience you have that you want to continue doing, that you enjoy, and what skills or experience you have that you don't want to continue doing. because it's very important to differentiate this. Just because I can interpret sign language, it does not mean I want to. Or just because I see a job posting with project management as a required skill, it doesn't mean I have to apply for it. This is where you really start to get honest with yourself about what you want and not what's just most convenient right now. So you can also look at the skills that you listed out in your last activity to help trigger your brainstorming here to see if they fall under either of these buckets. I'm going to set a timer for about 3 minutes, and I'll play some music. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay. Thank you all for doing that activity. I'm going to ask one more time. Surprise, surprise. What did you learn? What did you notice? What was surprising? I see Joey wrote in the chat, for me, I enjoy helping people, but I don't enjoy being a decorator any longer. Cool. Just like me with like sign language and project management. Enjoy some aspects of it, don't really want to do it anymore. Really, really good to know. It's okay to have some skills that you don't want to execute on. That's totally fine. And we got some answers too from our friend Lewis or Louis. Thank you. Nice. I'm glad to see that you got actually a lot of skills you enjoy doing and just a couple that you don't want to do anymore. That's pretty good. That's good to know. Seems like you enjoy doing a lot. Anyone else want to share any questions at this point? And then we will wrap up. I enjoy speaking, writing, and reading in Spanish, but I don't want to interpret. Yeah, Elizabeth. So true. Interpreting is a whole different ballgame, right? So that's great. Yeah, you can definitely have a role where maybe you communicate in Spanish or you read and write in Spanish, but you don't have to act as an interpreter. Very different type of job. Okay. Well, we have just a few minutes left. I do not want to manage a call center. Yes, Anne. That's great. You do not have to. I'm here to give you permission. You don't have to. Nice job, everybody. I'm glad that this activity I hope was helpful. It also is a great way to realize how many transferable skills you already have, how much experience life has given you, whether it's in your professional or your personal life. And then it can help you to start narrowing down the type of work that you enjoy doing. So with just 5 minutes left, I'm going to wrap up. As I do, I'd love for you to put in the chat, if you don't mind, what was most useful to you today? What's like one big takeaway from today's webinar that you're going to apply to your future career search? So feel free to type in the chat. I'd love to see your answers. And as you do, I'm going to wrap up. So I want to thank you so much for participating in our activities today. You might be wondering now, what do I do now? You can now take the answers to these 3 activities and start to look for patterns and start brainstorming career options that could be a great fit for you based on what you care about, what you're good at, what you enjoy doing. And it helps to do this with a few people that you know really well or whom you trust. Or I highly recommend working with a career coach who's highly skilled in helping you through this process. And this is just the beginning of your career exploration. I'm going to wrap up with a real quick summary. So these are the top 3 things I want you to walk away with today. Passion is overrated. Instead, discover what drives you. And pivoting is possible. I hope this webinar got you thinking about what matters to you most and what is possible for your future career. I'm also going to quickly share some resources. So if you want to continue searching, oh, it's got frozen for a second there. Sorry, everybody. Let's see if I can get them all to appear. They got a little stuck. If you want to continue searching for a career that fulfills you and or planning for a future pivot, check out these resources. Feel free to take a screenshot right now, but also there will be a recording of this webinar as well that you can go back and look at these resources again. If you're not a big reader, I do highly recommend that very last TED Talk on the screen at the bottom. It is only 12 minutes long and it is life-changing for those of us who feel like we have not found our passion. Okay, so if you want to dive into these concepts even deeper with a career coach, I would love to work with you. Please feel free to consultation, where we can discuss your goals and your roadblocks. We can talk about my offerings and my recommendations for you, and we can see if we'd like to work together. Also, if you mention this webinar, I will give you 20% off any of my services. So my email, website, and LinkedIn are on this slide. And I will also put in the chat right now the link for booking a free consultation and the link to my website if you'd like to check either of those out.
I just have a quick question. When will this be available online, the recording?
That is a question for Shanna.
And I can certainly get back to you probably. I just wanted to check to see how long editing and reposting will take. So it might take a week or so. I'm just not sure, but we'll definitely let you all know. We can follow up with you in an email when the recording is available to all of you.
Great, thank you. And is this presentation available to everyone as well? The
slides?
Yes.
I'm happy to share like a PDF version with Shanna. If Shanna, you want to share it with the group, we can do that.
Be happy to. I would be happy to.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. Okay, so thank you all so much for joining me today. We got a couple minutes if we want to do some Q&A, but before we do, I want to pass it over to Katie to wrap us up.
Thank you so much. So just want to do an extra shout out as well as NECC students and recent graduates. So anyone who's graduated recently, or perhaps maybe it's not too recent, but you're looking to connect and we can be of help. Career Services is available as a resource for you, and it's a resource for current students and those graduates. We are here to help at all stages of your career, from exploration to switching and pivoting. Many students we currently work with are considering summer internships, fall internships. Some are considering a career change. Just to give you a sample of who we're working with, our services are available for free for, again, students and recent graduates. And of course, the best way to reach out to us, I'm going to put our link in the chat so you can read more. You can reach out to us if you're a current student through the Navigate platform, or if you are an alum, you can also email us. The email and all of our contact information is listed in the link that I'm about to post.